Hello guys, welcome back again to Netcode-Hub channel. Gone are the days where you have to struggle to create method for your authentication in your web API. With the new features of .NET 8 Net Core, you can now create your JWT token with just a click. Is that a click? We see that. User registration and user login made easy with this new feature. Let's have a look at how to create .NET 8 authentication with identity in web API. Then later on, we're going to talk about how to consume this authentication in Blazor application, either Blazor web assembly or Blazor server application. What are the objectives? Today we have only one objective, and that is at the end of this video you have to, or you should be able to create token for your web API. So in order to do this, what is the first thing that you must do? You must make sure that you have your Visual Studio 2022 preview installed with .NET 8 framework installed, or the SDK. That's right. Then what you're going to do next, you have to go in for this filter to choose for web API, and now you have your ASP Net Core web API. Now when I'm done with this project, I'm going to put this on the GitHub. So as usual, you can just go in there, and that is a long name, don't mind. Let's get it done. If you like this video, you can just give me a thumbs up, and also subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so, so you receive updates or notification as soon as I upload new video on .NET 8. Okay, and any other video as well. Okay, so we have this, and you can see you have the framework of .NET 8.0 preview. Now with the authentication type, you can see we have the Microsoft Identity and our Windows, but we are not going to choose any of them, so we're going to choose the none one. Okay, because we're going to create it ourselves. Now click on create to get this project created. Okay, so our project is now created successfully, as you can see from this. When we run this, it's going to have the default one. But before we move on to this, did I even mention my name? Yeah, I'm Frederick. That's your lesson facilitator. So let's get it go. Now you can see from here that when you check this project template that has been created here, we have .http file. This, it is a file that we can use to test our API. If you want to know more about this, I have a video made on this, so I'm going to put at the description. So go in there and I'll click on it, how to test your web API using the .http file. Okay, now let's try to run this default project and see what we have now. I think when you create this, you have this controller with the weather forecast controller, and you have this class set up over here. So let's see. If I click on try this out, let's check it out. Alright, so you can see that you have a default API rendered successfully, and you can see we have this weather forecast, and this is the default one. When you create web API project, this is the default one that you see, and I believe and I'm sure that you know this. That's right. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to install some packages, and that's what's going to aid us to create this authentication system for us. Now right click on dependencies, and I'll go to manage NuGet packages. And now here, the first thing that we need to install here, it is what? Guess what? It is a EF core. That's the Microsoft Entity Framework core. Let's get that installed. So click on the browse tab, and now here, EF core, you can just have this installed. So that is this one. You can see we have this Microsoft.Entity Framework core. So get this installed. And now aside from that, let's see the next thing that we can do here. So let's accept this. We have to also install Microsoft.ASP.NET-Core.Identity.Entity Framework core. Okay, so let's get that also installed. So I can just type in Entity Framework core, and let's see if we can have a pop-up on that package. So Microsoft. Okay, so this is what we need. Microsoft.ASP.NET-Core.Identity.Entity Framework core. So get this installed. While this is done, the last package that we need to install, it is the tool, so we can perform database migration. You could also install the design. Okay, you also install this, right? So you can use .NET EF migration, then you add. But let's install 2. This is much more easier to use than the .NET EF. So let's install this. So these are the packages that we need to install. Let's accept it. And at the end of the day, we are going to build this project together to see if everything is in order as expected. Okay, you can just check the dependencies and also NuGet packages here to see the packages that we installed, whether they are there or they are not. Okay, so you can just install them again. Okay, so now we are done with this. Let's build this project. Right click on the solution and I'll build solution together. Now let's see down here to check the update. As soon as it is done, we're going to create our model, and maybe you can see we can talk about creating our AppDB context class as well. Okay, so you can see from here that it is succeeded. Now everything is set, so we can just close this peacefully. That's right. So now we have this set. Let's create our AppDB context. So right click on this. Let's create a class. Maybe if today is the first time of watching my video, I would like, or if how do I put it? If this is the first time of you watching the video, then maybe AppDB context will be a new thing to you. But those who have been watching the video know that, right? If I talk about AppDB context, it is actually for the database connection, and that's going to give us access to the database, right? So that is all that class means. I'm naming it as AppDB context, but you can name it in any name that you want. So I like to keep AppDB context class. And you know, we are going to inherit from identity DB context. This is no more DB context, but rather identity, because you want to have identity in a database. So DB context. So control period, and we need to use the package that we installed as ASP Netcode identity.entity framework call. Okay, now we have to create a constructor for this. And now we need to pass in this option, which inherits from the base class, and now this is the base identity DB context. Now in here, let's grab this, and we have to paste in like that. That's right. So this is all that we need. We don't need to create any model for this, because this DB context contains its own model. Okay. Now the model for this is going to have username and etc. If you click on go to definition, maybe you can have some things here. We have this identity DB context. Let's see, we have this identity user. So right click on this, and you can see that even here we can also add row to this. But for now, we are not tackling the row. Let's tackle this identity user aspect. When you click on go to definitions for this identity user, you can see we have this identity user here, which inherit from, you can see we have this username and etc. Let's try to expand this. Okay, so we have this identity user. I click this, go to definition. Okay, so that is the base what we have here. You can see we have the logout, and what we want to concentrate here is, you can see we have phone number over here, we have email address, right? You can see we have username. So these are the properties that we have here already that we need not to create it again, because here we want to inherit from the default one, which has been made easy or easier when implementing. So we have this set. The next thing that we're going to do here is also very simple. We need to specify our database connection string, and we do it in the appsetting.json file. So make sure you have it over here. Now click it on top here. You can put it down here, but on top here we're going to create as connection string. And now with this connection string, let's have a default name for that. So I'm going to say default connection. I believe you know this already. So we have default connection. Now here, server, I just want to set it to local, because I have local database installed. Now database name, I could say this identity DB, right? So I like to put in add a demo, so you know that it is for YouTube. So demo identity DB. Then you can also have our trusted connection. We set this to true. So trusted underscore connection, set this to true. Then trust server certificate, we also set this to true. So you make sure you do these things here. so you won't run out of any problem. Okay, let's have this set. Trust server certificate correctly spelled. Done. Trusted connection. That's right. Okay, so what we need to do here is the last thing is we have to register our database connection in the program.cs file. Okay, so that's what we need to do. Now let's navigate to the program.cs file, and now in here, before the app build, that is where we're going to specify all these stuff in here. So what we're going to do here first is let's register the database connection and builder.services.add db context. Then we can specify our app.db context class that we created. So app.db context class that we created. Now with this, we need to specify an options as parameter here. So we say options, and we need to use SQL Server. So options.use SQL Server. Did we install SQL Server? I'm not sure, right? If not, if we installed, it would have been here. So options.use SQL. Do you have SQL Server here? Okay, so let's have use SQL Server. All right, then here let's have builder.configuration.get connection string. So the connection that we stated in the app setting.json, you want to have the connection name here, and that is a default connection. If you want to be sure of that, can just grab this, or can just go in here, grab this. Okay, so there's a default, wrongly spelled. Let's grab this here, AULT, and that's right. So let's grab this, come to the program, and now paste this here. Okay, now with this, we have to install this SQL Server. You know, there are so many ways to kill a cat, isn't it? So we can just go there to package manager and install this, or can just click on this control period. Then let's see if we're gonna have access to the install SQL Server. No, we don't have this here. Let's see what we need to do. Use SQL Server. Okay, so I think it is not here. What we're gonna do here is let's have to go in there and install it ourselves. So package manager, manage NuGet packages, and now with this, I'm gonna type in the SQL Server. That is it one. So that is it. Let's install. So apply this, accept it. Okay, so when you go to output, you want to see this installed. Yes, so it is installed. Then it is going to change to uninstall. Let's wait for that. Okay, yeah, it is set and done. Now when you go back to this, let's see, control period, we have to use that, and we are off. Okay, so that is a way to do that. Right now we need to add the authentication system for the default one that has been created in the .NET 8. That's a new feature, right? So let's go in there and now down here. So the first one here is the database connection that we need to register. The second here, it is the identity API endpoint that we need to also register it here. So we're going to say builder.services.add. First, we need to add the authorization here. Okay, so after doing this, then builder.services.add identity. So you can see we have identity endpoint. So that is a new one. This is from the .NET 8 EF core, right? .NET 8 ASP net core. So here now with this, let's specify this identity because we're going to use identity in here, and that is what our database or our app.db context inherited from. So identity user. Okay, now aside from having this, we also need to add entity framework. So entity framework store. Then we pass in this database context. So here, let's pass in this database, or that's the app.db context class. We pass in like that, and that's all. So there's the settings that we need to do. Only 2 lines. Is it 1 line or 2 lines? I can just move this and I can put it here, making it 1 line, isn't it? That's the only thing that we need to do. Okay, we have authorization here set already. So now the last thing left, that is the middleware pipeline. So here, on top of this, we need to add app dot then map. Okay, so map here, we're going to map identity. So that's also the new one, map identity API. And here it is an pipeline that we are configuring and pass in this identity user. We have to close it and now terminate it. You see, this is very simple, isn't it? That's all things that we need to do. Okay, now aside from doing this, let's save this, build this project, and now perform database migration. So let's build it first. Now this is set, let's perform database migration. If you're not having your package manager console down here, do you know where you can find it? Click on views. Is it views? No, click on tools rather. And now NuGet package manager, you can see that is a guy here. Click on it. I'm going to have something like that. Okay, so CLS, I can clear screen. Then add migration. So that is the use of the .NET EF core.tools, right? Very simple statement to get this done. So add migration. Now first is what thing that I normally use, and that means you can give it any name that you want. Okay, so it's dynamic. You can just make it initial, maybe update the first one, etc. Okay, so you can see that as soon as we inherited from this, it brought some property that we went and dig it for, and you can see we have that property here, and that's what we use in a database creation. Remember that we saw something like username, isn't it? Email, password, phone number. We saw this in identity user, and that is what it is using to create this table. The table name here is an ASP.NET users, and you can see these are the properties, or these are the column names. The same thing applies to this is the row. So this table or this identity DB user support rows, and that's the authorization and authentication, or authentication and authorization. All right, but today I want to focus on creating account or authenticating user, generating token or cookie, and now returning to the user. That's what we want to tackle now. Maybe in a subsequent videos, we're going to talk about this one after the another. So don't worry. Let's keep on to what we want to do today. Okay. Now, aside from this, what we need to do here is update database. So update database. And I'm just going to put this into an actual thing that we can see. We're going to put this in a real form. We're going to have a table created. Okay, so let's wait for this. Then it is saying that only the invariant collection is supported in this. So parameter name. All right, so this is what we can do to stop that. So that's what we are doing. Let's update all the packages over here, and so that we can have this 8.0 version here. The default one that we installed was 7.0. So you want to have the 8.0. That's why we need to update all packages to skip that error. Now let's apply this. Accept it. Okay, so let's install this ASP.NET Core. That's a swashbuckle.filter. So let's see, we have swashbuckle.ASP.NET Core. Okay, so .filter. Let's see. All right, so swashbuckle is spelled wrongly. All right. And let's see. So we want to install this. Let's install. So this is a 7.0. We have to get as 8.0 as well. So when we are done, we need to update this. Right. Let's wait. Accept it. All right, let's go. So let's see pre-releases. Do we have any version aside from this? Okay, so that's the latest stable version. And with the pre-releases, we have only the same. Okay. All right, so that is done. Now let's try to perform migration again and see if we're going to have the same issue. So update database. Okay, so with this error, let's go to the project settings. The properties now here. This is true set here, so let's change this to, that's the invariant globalization. You want to set this to false. Let's save this. Let's view this. Okay, now let's perform the update database. So you can see that it is now running. So we have all our tables being created. You can see done. So this sets. Now let's run this project and see. Wow. So you check it out, you see. So you can see we have all these endpoints. Now all these endpoints are coming from where? That is a package that we installed, and also the settings or the service that we registered in the program.cs file. So you can see that from here, user can register, and it is not just registration. You register and now you get an API JWT token. Let's have a look here. So I'll try this out. You can see we have this register. So we have username, email, and password, right? So let's pass in the email and then password. So user@gmail.com. We have our password set. Let's maintain the password. So execute this. And now let's see. All right, so password must have at least one. Okay, right. Let's get that set. So user@123. We have everything inclusive. Let's see if we're going to generate our token for us. So let's wait. Okay, so you can see that we have the status code of 200, meaning everything is working as expected. Now what we need to do here is let's log in. So let's grab this. We hide this. We go back to this login. Try this out. All right. So here, which one do you want to use? Do you want to use cookie or you want to use session cookie? So here, that is using a query string. Remember that it's a query here. So we can skip this, right? Now here, let's pass in what we need to pass. And I want to pass in this. So we have our email. So let's grab this email from this section. And now let's specify this. Okay. Now let's click on execute whilst we try to log in. And now let's see. Okay, so you can see that we have our token here, and now the token type, it is bearer, as you can see from here, and there's an access token. We have an expire date, and we have a refresh token also generated, right? So now we have this. Let's see. So when you go for this manage info, right? So let's try to get our info. So try to execute, and now let's see. All right, so you see we have 401, meaning unauthorized. So this means that we have to authenticate before we can have access to this. Now let's have a way to authenticate this. And to do that, we go to the same section that is a project. We go to this program.cs file in here, and we're going to filter the /buckle or the /gen so we can accept our token and we can use the token to authenticate ourselves. All right, so down here, we can make some configuration. And before the build, we make sure we give a var space. Now let's space in this. So you can see that we are using beta.services.add_swagger_gen. So now with this swagger_gen, it means we have to remove this swagger_gen from it because that is what we register here. And I'm passing these parameters here, these options. So you can see we want to use this authentication or security definition for this OAuth2. And type here it is, and the name is authorization. The type here is an API key, as you can see from this, right? So this is what we need to add, and this is going to work because of the package that we installed, and that is a filter, the swashbuckle.asp.net.filter. Okay, so when you save this and run this, we're going to have a new feature in our Swagger, and this feature is going to allow us to copy our access token and now add it to the header of our request. So we can, anytime a request is made to the API, it's going to have a token to the header. Now let's check this out as soon as it has finished loading. So let's run this again. That's right. So you can see we have a new feature here, and that is an authorize. So this is what we're going to do. Since we've registered already, let's log in and I'm trying to authorize here. So we go to this login. Then we pass in our email and password, and that is a user@gmail.com. And now let's see our password as user@123. Okay, now let's try to log in. So we can have our token generated. Okay, so now let's grab this token from this. Let's copy this. Now let's go to this section on top here where we have this authorize. You know the type of this token here, it is what bearer. So we pass in the bearer, leave space, and now paste in the token. Then click on authorize. Okay, so you can just click on close. Now let's open manage info. Let's try to click on get it out. And now let's see the outcome of this. That's right. So you can see that we have this authentication claim. You can see we have this user over here. These are our claims. So there is an email address and that is the name. Isn't it? We have our security stamp also set. So this authentication system has access to your email and now your name, right? It has no extra claim like an administrator user because you haven't added any role-based authorization to this. It is just an authentication and authorization. So this is enough. So we can say that we've been able to access this. Now the next question is, if you are done with this, how do you consume this API or in your Blazor application? The next time we're going to talk about that. But let's go to this section. We have this weather forecast controller. Now here we can just access authorize. So authorize. Okay. So when you have this attribute, it means before you have access to this controller or this API, you must be authorized. Now let's see. So initially, I think it has even reloaded. That's right. Now let's see. So if I click on try this out, let's see what happens. Okay, so see we have 401. And 401 means you are not authorized. So let's log in again and let's try to set our header. Then let's see if we can have access to that. So user@gmail.com. Then user@123. Execute. Let's grab our token. Let's go to the header. Then add it. So bearer space. Don't forget the space is very important. Authorize. Then let's go back and see if this will work. So execute this. And that's it. We have it. So that is the easiest way to implement identity authentication in Blazor, not in the Blazor, in Web API.NET 8 ASP.NET Core. You can see so much of the work is done by the team. So what you need to do here is just have to join them, and now that's how you fire them and you are good to go. It's not nice? Yeah. So if you want me to create a Blazor application and I'll try to call this API for user to log in and authenticate the user to the application, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Please give thumbs up to this video if you are okay with it. Also, you can just subscribe to this channel so that as soon as I upload any video, you have a notification to watch it. If you're also touched and you want to buy me coffee, well, that's fine. Check the description. It is over there to support this channel as well. Thank you so much for taking time to watch video from this Netcode-Hub channel. Keep watching and you'll be blessed.